Well, hello, good evening. I want to thank all of you for joining me tonight on the financial roadmap of how to pay for college. So, just to make sure we're all in the right room, you're all here to learn about financials of college, correct? You can just raise your hand. I know this is a webinar, but I like it to be somewhat interactive if at all possible. Drew, thank you so much. Well, my name's Monica Felton, and I own an investment coaching company. And since 2008, I've been guiding families to identify and realize their American dreams. And what I've noticed and what I've realized over almost 20 years is that for many families, helping their kids with a college education is a big part of their American dream and what they want to accomplish financially. And I would think, again, if I could get a raise of hands, that you're on here because you do want to help your kids financially somehow with a college education. Is that right? Am I correct? All right, good. Well, what I learned very early on in my planning career is that the number one obstacle to parents' successful retirement is helping their kids with college. This impacts middle and upper class families more than anything. And what I learned is that traditional financial planning does very little to help families prepare for the crushing costs of college. And please hear me, a 529 plan is not a college plan. There is so much more to it. So I became an expert, a college financial planning expert. I know what families want and I know how they can achieve it. And I have the facts, and that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. Now, for many of you, this information is going to feel like a sledgehammer. It might bring up a lot of emotions, and please understand that that's normal. College has changed so much from when we went. It's far more complicated and far more expensive. Now, I've helped thousands of people create their family's best plan to save and pay for college and not sacrifice their retirement. I've helped families create peace of mind around not only paying for college, but also their financial futures. And I'm sure many of you on this call would like a little financial peace of mind, not only around college, but also your future. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about what does college cost. We're going to talk about what is financial aid and how do you get it. What are you expected to pay for college? Every family is different. There is a formula that the government uses to determine your financial aid eligibility. So, what does that look like for you? A lot of mistakes. There's so much information and downright lies around college planning. So, we want you to have the facts. And then, lastly, what are your steps to success? So it all starts with the cost of attendance. That's the sticker price of school. I really say it's everything except the pizza and beer. And for a 4 year in state public education, yes, take a deep breath. It's $145,000. Now, if you go out of state to a public school or a smaller private school, now we're upwards about $235,000. And if you have your eyes set on Ivy, baby Ivy, anything like that, you're at $390,000 for a 4 year diploma. Now, why do I say 4 years? Because a 4 year diploma is hard to get. So at ASU, a 4 year diploma only happens 55% of the time. A 6 year diploma is 68% of the time. Now, the biggest reasons that kids don't graduate college in 4 years is because they change their major. That's the number one. But a lot of times they just don't have good advisory help on what to get the classes what classes they need to get, or they can't get into the prerequisites that are required to take the classes for their major. So I always have families talk to your guidance counselor at the colleges that you're interested. Ask them about their 4-year graduation rate. Understand why it is what it is. Now, out of state public schools, again, they don't have a much better. Public schools have a very hard time graduating students in 4 years. And then if you get into private schools or very prestigious schools, they do a much better job of graduating your students in 4 years. Now, there's really two types of financial aid. The first type of financial aid is merit. Merit is based on your students' academics. And then there's need-based financial aid, and need is based on mom and dad's economics. Now, we're going to cover a little bit of merit tonight, but please understand, if you are looking at a very selective school, highly selective baby Ivy, there is no merit money. All the kids are smart. Now, the good news is we do have about 3,000 4-year universities. And the way they entice you to bring your student there is they offer money. But it's just not those Ivy Leagues or very selective schools. So a lot of this conversation is going to be based around need and how you as a family could be eligible for need-based financial aid. This is a great website, meritaidgrids.com. So you can go on the state and look up your student's school of choice, and you can see just how generous that school is going to be with merit awards. Remember, that's based on academics. So you can put in their GPA and their standardized test scores and really see if they're even going to be eligible for any merit awards. But it'll put you in the right direction. I always say it's a great conversation to have with your students in the 9th grade because grades matter. Grades equate to money if you choose the right school. Now, where do you get need-based financial aid? Comes from the federal government, the state government, and then most of it comes from the school that your student will ultimately attend. And the way basically the door opener for all financial aid is something called the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. We call this the federal methodology because this is where federal dollars are given. There's no cost to complete it and millions are filed annually. Now, you can fill that out October 1st of your student's senior year. Now, interestingly enough, they're going to use income or your tax returns from 2 years prior. We call that prior, and I'll give you an example of that. And just to make sure you did your math right, the FAFSA now goes to the IRS website and pulls all of your data down to make sure they match. So this is the FAFSA, again, your student senior year, October 1st. You cannot fill this out any earlier. So October 1st of your student senior year, and you'll see here, if you have a student going to school in 2027, right? So that's next year. Well, then you're going to be you'll submit the FAFSA October 1st and of 26. So that's this year, your student senior year. And then you'll use last year's 2025's tax return. So you can see the prior is how it works. And now you will have to fill out a FAFSA every year that your student is in college. But remember, it's your income is always 2 years in arrears. That's that prior. And again, they do query or basically run your information through or pull it from the IRS website as well. Now, for those of you looking for those selective schools, you will be required to fill out something, usually in addition to the FAFSA. It's called the CSS profile. This is the institutional methodology because usually it's the institution that will be giving you the financial aid. There's a lot more information that's required. About 300 schools require this. And again, you also can fill that out October 1st of your student's senior year, and there is a small fee to complete that. Now, why? Why do we even fill out the FAFSA in the first place? Because the FAFSA is going to generate something called your Student Aid Index, or SAI. You might have heard a term called EFC, or Expected Family Contribution, but the Student Aid Index has just replaced EF, or Expected Family Contribution. So, in essence, it's the baseline in what your family is expected to pay, and that baseline is based on several factors: mom and dad's income, mom and dad's assets, students' income, students' assets, and your parents' age. So here's how the formula goes. Now, I do see someone has a chat in here. Yes, Drew, thank you very much. If you'll save all your questions, I'll open up the phones and you're more than welcome to ask me. So just hold tight. And I promise if I don't answer it, I will get to it. Thanks, Drew. All right. So the first thing they're going to do is look at the parent contribution. They're going to look at your income. That is your adjusted gross income. And the reason I say 10 to 25% assessment is because it's a sliding scale. So if you make closer to $100,000, you're going to be assessed at 10%. And if you make closer to $250,000 in adjusted gross income, you'll be closer to 25% is how much of your income would be assessed. Then you're going to look at assets. And assets really include everything: stocks, bonds, mutual funds. 529s are considered a parent asset, not a student asset. 529s are assessed at this 5.6%. Now, they also will look at real estate. The FAFSA will not look at your primary residence as an asset to help with college. So the primary residence equity is excluded from the financial equation. But if you have a second home, or if you have a small business with a piece of land or income generating, well, then the equity in that real estate would be included as an asset to help pay for college. Now, things that are excluded, again, home equity or primary residence is excluded: cash value life insurance, annuities, and money already in a qualified plan like a 401k, IRA, 403b, 457, any of those retirement types accounts, Roths, all are excluded from the asset calculation. Now, we're not done. We're going to look at the student's contribution as well. But again, most students are not going to have anything over here because your student is allowed to earn $11,500 a year before any type of need-based financial aid is impacted. But anything over $11,500, then they will start being assessed, and it does significantly reduce financial aid. And then assets. Assets in a student name are custodial accounts like a UTMA account or a UGMA account. Trust can also, depending on who's the benefactor of a trust, can go on this side. So let's just run out an example. So here's your parents' contribution. So I have parents that make $100,000 a year. They have about $50,000 in assets, we'll say mutual funds and 529s. There's no student contribution. And that student aid index, or what you're expected to pay, is about $20,000 per year per child. So take a deep breath so you can see now why college is such an obstacle for many families wanting to help their kids, especially if you have multiple kids all interested in going to college. There is hope. You have to put together a plan, but you need to understand these numbers before your students head off to college. Now, debt. Debt is one of the biggest misunderstandings that families have. Here's the process. You're going to fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, your student's senior year, October 1st or later. What you're going to get back is called a student aid report. And on that report will be your student aid index, or SAI. And that's what you're expected to pay. So when you pick yourself up off the ground, because the number is so high, you're going to say, what? How on earth could I ever be expected to pay that? Don't they understand that I've got a mortgage? I have a second mortgage. I have car payments. I have debt. And the reality is, they don't know you have debt and they don't care because it is not one of the factors used to determine your aid eligibility. So that's why working with me early in the process can be very, very beneficial, because what I help you do is close the gap between what the government says you can afford to pay and what you can actually afford to pay. So, depending on how you earn your income and where your assets are located, sometimes we actually can lower your student aid index or what you're expected to pay. But in most instances, what we're doing is we're getting you more efficient with the money that's already running through your fingertips. Do you have any high interest debt, bad spending habits? If you do, we want to identify those now and get rid of them. I mean, is there a way to get a second to pay off some credit card debt? How efficiently are you maximizing the rate of return on your investments? Because if I can get your money working harder for you, right, we can then increase the amount of cash flow that you have to send over to college. So by lowering what you're expected to pay and improving your overall cash flow, I can then close the gap and make college much more affordable for you. So how is need determined? So remember, they're going to take that sticker price or cost of attendance. That's everything: tuition, books, room and board. They're going to subtract out what your student aid index is. And that's, again, based on those factors that I gave you. And that's going to be your financial aid. That's the amount of money that you can get help with. All right. Now, there's several places to get help, as we talked about: the federal government. Now, if you're a family of four making less than $90,000 a year with no assets, you would be Pell Grant eligible. Pell Grants are used for low-income families. You do not have to pay them back. Now, again, you could get up to $7,400, but if you make the full $90,000, that is a sliding scale. Now, the colleges can help you. That's always good, right? And they can help you in a few ways. They can give you free money, our favorite. They can give you loans, or they can do nothing. This is where study hard and get good grades, because if they're not interested in your student, they don't have to help you with financial aid at all. All right, here's the free money. We call this tuition discounts, grants, scholarships. Again, our favorite. We don't have to pay that back. Then there's borrowing for college. And this is really important because ultimately, when you get your financial aid award letter, which is usually in March of your student senior year, they're going to say, look at all this financial aid we've given you. But on a lot of it is loans. Now, to me, financial aid is free money, but that's not true. Financial aid can be any way that they give you money. So if they're giving you a student loan or a PLUS loan, a parent loan, that is all considered money or part of your financial award package. So understanding exactly what that financial award is very, very important to your out-of-pocket costs for college. So I mentioned student loans. Student loans are in the student's name, just like they say. Now, the most your student can borrow is $5,500 the first year, $6,500 their sophomore year, and $7,500 for their junior, senior, and if they need a fifth year. Now, these can be subsidized, which means the government doesn't charge you interest, or unsubsidized, which means interest is accruing while your student's in school, and subsidy does depend on mom and dad's economics. There is currently a 6.4% interest rate that is determined by Congress. There isn't an origination fee, and payments are required as soon as your student gets out of college. Now, there's also PLUS loans. These are parent loans for undergraduate students. The most mom and dad can borrow is $65,000 per child or $20,000 per year. There's a hefty interest rate on this at 8.9%, and there is an origination fee of 4.2%. Repayment is required immediately on those loans. There's also other borrowing options that you can look into, private loans, a HELOC or refinancing the equity in your house, a margin account. If you have a brokerage account, you don't have to sell your stocks. You can borrow against those. For many of you who work for companies, they offer 401k loans, and then cash value life insurance. If you have a vehicle that has insurance and also a savings account connected to it, in many instances, you can borrow against that asset to pay for things. So, how much money is available? Well, there's something called the net price calculator, and that is on every single university's website. It is required. And you will go in and put your students' academics with your economics, and it will tell you kind of an idea of what you would be paying out of pocket. It's going to help you understand what percentage of need they meet, gifts versus loans. And please understand, every school is different. You will find schools that meet 100% need, and you will find schools that meet 10% need. So again, understanding how generous your student's school of choice early is very important to your out-of-pocket costs. All right, whoops. Oh, sorry about that. I sped through that. Okay. So here's what I know. After almost 20 years, I am you. I've got a 24-year-old daughter. I'm a grandmother for the first time on my gorgeous 5-month-old granddaughter. And then I have one just finishing college at Cal Poly and with a mechanical engineering degree. So not only do I help hundreds of families a year, I am one of you. I know what you want. We want our kids to have a successful career in college. But we also want as much financial help as we can get, preferably free. And we definitely want to keep our promises to our kids and ultimately retire one day. Please hear me. Your kids will not care that you helped with a college education if at 75 you have to move in with them because you ran out of money. They're going to be mad. So please keep your promises and plan well. Now, to truly give you the facts, I offer all of my families this customized complimentary college planning report. So if you head over to my website at monicafelton.com/college, what it's going to do is it's going to lead you to this report. So what you're going to do is you're going to click down here up here in the college, and then you'll click down here. Yes, I want a report. And what's going to happen is a calculator will click up. So you need to give me an email if you want the report sent to you, the state that you live in, years of college. So just walk through and answer these very high level questions. Put in your family size, number in college, obviously, if you're married or divorced, and then you will put in your incomes, again, high levels, your parents, so just you can populate this. If you have any questions about what to put in the box, hover over that little blue bubble and it'll tell you exactly what to put in there. So again, parents' income 2 years prior to your student going to college, parents' assets, which would be today or when you fill out the FAFSA, any student's income and assets. And then down here, you're going to want to choose your school of choice. So if you're looking at, I'm saying you want to look at Texas Christian University, you would pick Texas, and then you would select Texas Christian University. Each family is eligible for 3 reports. And this is what you're going to get back. It is a 10-page, very robust report specific to you. Now, as I mentioned, you can fill out the FAFSA October 1st of your student's senior year, but you need that data, I always say, by the 9th grade, certainly the 10th and definitely by the 11th. The sooner you can get this data, the quicker you can begin preparing for your family's best plan. So you'll see here, I filled out a report for Arizona State University. This is a family of 4 that makes $100,000 and has $50,000 of visible assets. You can see that Arizona has a 55% graduation rate in 4 years, 68% in 6. The current cost of attendance, that's the sticker price, $33,000. And then room and board. Now, no, room and board is inclusive. This 33,000 includes the 16,000 room and board. It'll tell you what financial forms are required for that school. So you can see ASU is the FAFSA. Now, this is important. It tells you how much need you're going to get on average. So at ASU, if I have $10,000 worth of need, they're only going to meet 6,000. The 4,000 is called gap, and I family get to pay that. So they're only going to cover 6,000, and of that 6,000, only 72% is actually going to be gift money. The rest will be student loans. So if I add all those numbers together, right, what I see is my student aid index, or what I'm expected to pay, is about $20,000 down here. But then if I have to add back any unmet need, now we're upwards of about $25,000 is what I'll be writing a check for every month. All right, so what is your successful plan? Well, number one, you have to know what you're expected to pay. What are you up against? Number two, are you a need-based financial aid family? Because how we plan for a full pay family, which means you're not eligible for need, or a need-based family, which means you are eligible for need, is completely different. So you have to understand what type of family you are. What will be the impact on your retirement with college? Is your retirement secure? Are you guys set up? Do you have peace of mind around your financial future? Because you need your best plan, your family's best plan, and every family is different. I also want you to know you can do this. Every family can help their student with their hopes and dreams without sacrificing their own. Now, after you fill out that college planning report, you now have an understanding. If you would like, I offer a complimentary 1-hour Zoom meeting consultation. This is basically a strategy meeting to look at what your hopes and dreams are, what are you doing to accomplish those hopes and dreams, and how do we make your best plan, or how do we provide the best improvement for that? So if you would like that, please take a picture of the QR code. That would lead you directly into my calendar. But remember, the college report is required for that meeting. I do my Zoom meetings Monday through Friday from about 8 to 4 o'clock. And again, I do require that everyone's on the phone. So mom and dad both have to be there, obviously, unless you're divorced. And I am going to ask for lots of documents, tax returns, any kind of debt, investments, like all that stuff. But I'll make sure you get a copy of what you need. Now, here's what I know. I know that every family wants their best plan. And again, I can give you the confidence that you need, or I can just give you certainty that you're on the right track. So if I can help you or your family in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd welcome the opportunity to do so.